Good afternoon and welcome to this special edition of Dussehra, where we'll be talking about a lot of emotions that come during Dussehra because of what indicates is in terms of Ravan's 10 heads that are there. That indicates, that signifies whether evil is there, whether there's fear, whether there's ego, and everything that happens, it indicates in terms of the markets as well. Now, obviously, as we celebrate Dussehra, that signifies the victory of good over evil. We will be bringing on board our experts for today. We have Kunal Bothra as well as Hemang Jani to talk to us about, what are the evils that we can avoid in the market as well. What more can we do on this Dussehra that is very special? And let's bring on board our experts for today, Kunal as well as Hemang. Very good afternoon and thank you so much for joining in with us this afternoon on ET Now on this Dussehra special. And Kunal, I'm going to start with you. When you talk about the 10 heads of Ravan, there is one of the emotions that they highlight is ego. So in the market, where do you think that there is ego? How do you see that ego factor actually coming in the market? Is there anything specific there that one should avoid?
Well, yeah, there is. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting on this very special and interesting discussion. Ego, I'll probably twist it in terms of pride. And one of the stocks which, according to me, fits perfectly, at least for me, is Tata Motors, because I remember, I'll go back to 2020 COVID, and from the point when the markets made a bottom towards the point when the markets started to rally, I was pretty late in identifying many of the larger cap names, but then Tata Motors used to just stand out as one of the classical charts. So just to give you an example, many of the other stocks were giving weekly chart breakouts, but Tata Motors gave a monthly and a quarterly chart breakout. So this was like an unmissable trade for Tata Motors. I still hold on to that stock, and that's become more like a pride to me, so I'll probably term it as ego.
All right, so Tata Motors you would term as a stock of pride for you?
For you. Yeah.
Okay, Kunal. But what's your take on this, Mr. Jani? Talking about Tata Motors, the emotion that he's connected that to is ego. But for you, which is that one spot in the market where you would denote this sort of an emotion? Also, this is an emotion that you should keep away while investing in market, isn't it?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me here, and happy festival season and Dussehra to all the viewers and the team here. So yeah, the stock market investing and trading is all about greed and fear. Okay. So in my case, I can share my own example. The big regret or the emotional part that I have handled is that why did I not buy enough of the stock that did so well? And the other one is that why did I sell so early? Because many stocks in our portfolios, they tend to become 5x, 10x, 25x. And because we are driven by the emotions, and particularly in the social media and the WhatsApp kind of world we are living in, you can't stay without this emotions, because it amplifies the whole thing, So that you end up making decisions which are not in the best of the interest. So I think you should keep a little bit of cool head and stay a little process focused. That is what is required when it comes to the stock market investing.
Absolutely. Mr. Jani, I'm going to ask you, you said greed and fear, both of them are not good in their own ways here, right? Because you always have that greed, I should hold the stock for some more time because, it may go up. But that fear is then the minute it starts falling, you have the fear of, oh my God, now when do I get out of the stock? How should one in the markets actually look at, fighting this greed and fear? Because when do you stop being greedy? When is that time that one should stop being greedy in such a time?
So, unfortunately, unlike, certain other subjects where you have very proper understanding of when to do what and all that, stock market is a behavioral science, right? So here you don't have specific ways to deal with it, but I think as you learn, as you really engage with people, you look at your own experiences and data, that will give you a lot of insights that, okay, what is working for me, what's not working for me. The basic simple from an investor point of view, the ones which are actually going in your favor, if you have the conviction to ride, that will actually take away a lot of these small issues which are there around you.
All right, so you need to have conviction, and also one needs to be very aware of the fact that when you have the emotion of greed, it tends to lead to very hasty investment decisions as well. But talking about greed, Kunal, that emotion with stock, will you actually have that stock linked to this emotion?
Where were you very greedy? I want to know. Was it that you saw the most profit?
So,
greed?
as a behavior, we tend to be more greedy with the smaller cap and the
Right.
penny stocks at the fag end of the market rally. This is like a constant behavior science across decades of stock market, not just the 2.5 decades for India, but across the decades for many of the global markets. And one such stock which actually just pops out on the screen is Suzlon. I think even at current levels, I think the stock is up some 27% so far this month. It's done phenomenally well. And even in this last few months of markets correction, the stock has not buckled under pressure. So there's that constant amount of greed that maybe ये stock शायद चलता ही जाएगा ऊपर, and I don't want to miss out on that rally for the stock.
That's right, but you don't want to miss out on the rally, but that also brings in something we call FOMO and fear of missing out, and fear. That's one of the things, that emotion that you attach yourself as well. So where is it that there was some fear that you had, or the FOMO that, oh, I'm missing out on something? Because yes, once it runs up, then you're like, oh, did I miss out on it?
See, I think the only stock which I tend to fear is Sun Pharma. Now, I know it may sound a bit tricky or typical, but Sun Pharma has been one stock where I've seen historically that whenever the stock gets into a breakout, there is some sort of negative news flow which surrounds the stock price, and it just buckles under selling pressure immediately. So whether it's something related to US FDA or something related to XYZ in terms of business for the stock, but I've seen the stock that whenever it gives a breakout, we tend to be more fearful that let's not jump into that breakout, let it sustain for a few days, and then let's maybe enter in.
All right, that's Sun Pharma for you when it comes to the fear. But let me go back to the point that actually Kunal was talking about, the mid cap and the small cap market. That is where you see maximum amount of greed, especially to the fag end of the rally, where everyone is attracted to that. And Mr. Jani, right now, today, if you can look at the markets, it's the broader markets that are actually under pressure in trade today. What would your advice be? Should you actually venture into the broader markets or stay away from them, or look at only quality names? Or is there some sort of a rule that you need to follow while investing in broader markets?
Yeah, so one of the things that you said is that there is a kind of a mini bubble which has happened in the broader market, and so one needs to be obviously a little selective and clear about that. Secondly, when the correction starts, now an index which has gone up 35%, or many stocks have gone up 3-5x also, then we should not be too quick to jump onto that okay, the stock has corrected 5%, 10%. I think you should just let it stabilize, let the dust settle, and then you can start looking out for opportunities in terms of wherever the earnings are good, wherever you think that fundamentally the company is sound, and if it is corrected, let's say 10, 15, 20%, after going through that entire homework, it would make sense to really nibble into it.
So are you nibbling into any mid-caps? Do you have any top mid-cap bets that you are actually eyeing right now, or do you think that you are going to just take it easy?
I think we should just wait out for a few more days. This is just a first, small kind of a color that we have seen of how it could be. So I think it will take probably, deep red. It will take few more days. Globally also things are not looking that good or stable. So I think we should give it some more time and do some more homework in terms of what the company is doing, what kind of numbers it may throw up, how that segment is performing, and basis that you can take that call.
Right. Kunal, let's burst one more bubble and one more head of Ravan then, and that is attachment. You get attached to stocks when you're holding it for a long period of time. Is there anything specific that you were attached to, or where in the market that you are stuck up at?
Had you asked me this question last year, I would have said ITC, of course. I think it was something where everyone was attached to, I think when the stock was at 200, 220. But I think right now it's Reliance Industries where, we tend to be attached towards. So, there are few large cap stocks which are magnets, we call it as, which tends to attract attention for many investors. Even Reliance Industries in this case, HDFC Bank also you can probably add. Both of these stocks are excellent quality. So, there's a sense of attachment which you have with these kind of names. So for me, it's Reliance Industries.
All right, attachment is Reliance Industries, but one of the most important aspect while you invest also has to be the perfect balancing act, isn't it, Mr. Jani? When you invest in markets, you need to balance out your portfolio. You need to know the right mix, the quality companies that you need to invest in. Reliance Industries definitely ticks all the boxes, I'm sure, Kunal, isn't it? And but when will it actually start performing? Because people who are very attached to Reliance Industries, want to continue to believe that Reliance Industries will go ahead and lead the markets higher. But that's not happening, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's been underperforming for almost about 6 to 7 months now, and when you look at the data points, no doubt their businesses, the telecom and the retail are doing reasonably well. They are able to get investors, but the petrochemical and the O2C business, that is where there is a little bit of concern in the current scenario. So I think, see, what happens in the market is that you don't get both the things, the price advantage and the comfort both, right? So now the price advantage is there because the performance is not that great. But I think if you really start buying at this phase of the market, surely it will make a lot of sense. I think it should do well over the next 6 to 12 months.
See, I think just to add, elephants don't dance every day. And Reliance is one such elephant. But when it does, I think it's going to be party time for the entire jungle.
I'm sure we are all waiting for this elephant also to dance. Along with that, even HDFC Bank also is the other one that we are waiting to see them both dance. Actually, we're waiting to dance to their tunes as well. But let's talk about a space, Kunal, where you thought I should have invested. And maybe your colleagues may have invested in that particular domain, and where you're jealous of the returns that they're making, and you felt like, shit, I missed the bus.
So I'll take a leaf out of what Hemang said, that it would have been awesome to invest into defense mid-cap names. I think the kind of rally which we've seen, I frankly was under-invested into the mid-caps, into the defense mid-caps particularly, because my sense was at every stage of the rally, these stocks were somewhere going into that overbought territories, and I was actually expecting a sharper correction to come by. What we actually got was more of a time correction rather than a price correction. So that price correction did not come for these quality defense names, and these stocks have just given returns of 300% and 400% in a short span of time. So that's a space which I'm extremely jealous about.
Defense, but Mr. Jani, in terms of defense space, what is your thought overall? Because look at the run-up that we've seen. Kunal was also saying that's something that, you feel like maybe it's in the overbought territory. What is your view now on this? Where do you see this defense space?
To be very honest, I see a big bubble there, because while the the order flow and the sentiment around us because of the geopolitical issues which are there, it will be good. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes to market investment, you need to look at the valuations, you need to look at what kind of earnings growth are we really looking at. So all these companies in the defense space, they are growing at barely about 10-12%, and they've never got this kind of a valuation in past multi-years. So I think there is a valuation bubble. No doubt few companies will emerge as big winner, but I think we should really let it cool off quite a bit before we get into it.
All right, Kunal, are you feeling better? Because Mr. Jani did say that he's seeing...
I was so happy when he said it was a bubble.
When he said that he feels there's a bubble forming in the defense mid-caps. But what about the rest of the other PSU names, Mr. Jani? Be it the railways, be it defense, be it power. We've seen all of them have spectacular run, and I'm sure everyone would have been feeling, oh no, I've missed the bus. But do you think that there is still scope? There will be a right time when you can invest in these names, or do you think PSUs are an avoid?
No, I don't think we can, have that broad call that you just avoid PSU as a space. I think we have to go with each name, because many companies in the PSUs are commodity companies and high dividend yield plays, and commodity cycle can be slightly favorable. So we should really go with each company, each space, what kind of numbers, what kind of valuations they are quoting at, and then take a proper call.
Okay, take a proper call looking at all the factors that are there. But there's one factor that we should count also. Next year is going to be election year as well. Infra spends are expected to increase as well. Anything in terms of, where you would look at specifically for this type as well? And, what would you be looking at right now?
So I call it as pride, and I believe that, I worked out this stat many years back, that there are few set of stocks which mirror what the benchmark indices do. And I think L&T is a stock which falls exactly in that category. It was amazing to see the stock consistently over years showing a correlation of more than 79 to 80%. And 80% correlation is on a large cap name with respect to index is considered to be extremely high. So which means that if you're bullish on India, you have to be bullish on L&T or vice versa. And I think L&T has done phenomenally well. So I call it as pride.
All right, L&T is a matter of pride for for Kunal. And actually, now everyone's been saying that, right? If you're bullish on India, you have to be bullish on capex related names, and L&T is definitely the front runner in that particular space. But do you think that the run is done for L&T, or do you see some more scope for capex related names to go ahead? Because you had the government also talk about the amount of capex they've already undertaken right now. Do you think that now it will be a time to pause on these names, or you still see scope for further upside?
So as a theme, capex will continue, because typically ahead of the elections, you see these companies doing very well. The government also goes too aggressive when it comes to giving out orders. So I think the theme will continue. Only thing is that you need to fine tune your entry.
Right.
So L&T, Siemens, ABB, whole host of companies should do reasonably well from here on for next 12 months.
Also, anything attractive, these are the bigger names that are there. Anything that looks attractive in the mid-cap, small-cap space, we spoke about the whole mid-cap as a whole, but anything in the infra, because if infra is going to grow, even these mid-caps will go, right, in the infra. So anything attractive there?
Infra, there are many companies, but I think we should be, a little bit selective about what you're getting into. So Ingersoll Rand is something that we've been, liking. They make air compressors. And though in terms of price, it may look, expensive, but it's a small mid-cap kind of a story. So I think this is one company that we think should do well, given the kind of importance which is given to the road infra. I think this is one of the companies that will benefit the most.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about one of the other emotion, and that is deceit, Kunal. Actually, which stock will you actually connect to this particular emotion, and why? Most importantly, why? Because when you talk about deceit, you're definitely talking about deceptive practices that people use in investing market. That's how usually you kind of link this emotion to. But I'm very interested to know why you've picked the stock that you've actually picked to denote deceit.
So again, very interesting name. It's not a stock which is actually very deceptive in terms of the fundamentals, but
Right.
of course, when I talk of it from the technical language. The stock has been in a phase of one of the most roaring bull markets. The stock has been an underperformer, and all of a sudden, when the markets go sideways, you see the stock just going into a different tangent of a rally altogether. So I call it as deceit because it tends to behave in a very erratic kind of a manner, and that's Tata Chemicals. I think it was amazing. It's like one of the most highest beta stock, which is there in the formidable large cap, mid cap names, that is remaining into a range of 5%, 7%. That is what I call it as deceit, because in the last 12 months, when the markets have gone from here to here, the stock has been absolutely sideways. That's a classical sign of deceit.
All right, so do not mistake this particular stock with that emotion, saying that based on fundamentals, there's only technical charts, is what Kunal is talking about, and why he selected Tata Chemicals to denote the emotion deceit, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But Mr. Jani, let's talk about chemical space as a whole. Let it be chemicals, specialty chemicals, we've all of them, there was a time when everyone was backing this particular sector based on the fact that China plus one strategy will benefit the space. But we also somewhere may have forgotten the fact that they are also a lot heavily dependent on commodity cycle, isn't it? So now what's your take coming in on specialty chemicals? Do you think that China plus one strategy is still left to play out?
I think when you look at the stocks, they've underperformed in last almost about 12 months now. And this quarter in particular, the numbers are not going to be great because volume or price advantage has not been that great. But yes, some of the companies like Deepak Nitrite, which have undertaken a big expansion, and particularly the ones which are on the fertilizer side, the urea prices have bottomed. So I think it would be good to look at something like a Deepak Nitrite or an SRF, Navin Fluorine. If you see a correction of about 5 to 10% in this space, maybe some of these companies can be great opportunities.
Furthermore, underperformance from what was already done.
Very much likely, at least this quarter.
All right.
Kunal, one more emotion that we should talk about is anger. And the stock that you picked out, I want to know what is the reason, why the anger towards UPL that you have, what is it that UPL did to you that you are so angry towards it?
But I have a feeling that even Mr. Jani also would link anger with UPL, wouldn't you also? Or first let's take Kunal's take on UPL.
So I'll not call it as anger because I'm not angry on the stock, but then there are few stocks which are just way beyond the technical studies. And UPL is a classical stock in that regards. You know, I've seen breakouts, I've seen breakdowns, and when I've taken the list of the stock behavior and how we've managed to perform in stocks, UPL has been one of the worst stocks where we've performed, because whenever the stock gives you actually a breakdown, it reverses immediately, and whenever it gives a breakout, it reverses almost instantly. I'm not talking of even any kind of a delay. So there's one stock which so when there is any kind of a discussion which involves UPL, I just tend to stay away from the discussion because it's just not worked in terms of technical parlance.
That is on the technical, but on the fundamental side, you know, UPL, it's a Nifty 50 stock, but somehow it tends to disappoint quarter after quarter, isn't it? Even if the numbers are good, but the stock won't perform well.
Yeah, it's been the most trickiest name that I've come across.
Yeah.
The potential wise, the kind of legacy that it has, it's massive. But I think somehow the company is not delivering in terms of the stock price performance. So I think, you know, it would be good to avoid. I think these quarterly numbers are not going to be that great. And given the, you know, global scenario around global agrochemical, things are going to take a while to settle down. So I think it will be good to stay away from UPL. But just one point I would like to make about the anger part, you know, you discussed. When I was looking at my own portfolio in March this year, I was so angry that, you know, this whole year the stocks have not performed, mid caps have not performed. But typically when you go through that emotion, that is where you get biggest opportunities of your life.
Right, absolutely. And that is where you need to make sure that you avoid emotions like ego coming in or pride coming in, or for the matter of fact, greed and fear, the biggest emotion at play when it comes to stock market investing, isn't it?
Absolutely, the biggest emotion for everyone right here. And Kunal, there's one more that we should talk about. Lack of self-control and Praj Industries. What's happening here? Is it like... what is the relation behind this and Praj?
No, it's been one of the fabulous stocks, because I remember, I think, tracking sugar sector when Praj Industries, Balrampur, Chini, they were 2 digits. They were like 67 and 70s in that kind of a price range. And from there, these stocks have just performed exceptionally well. So, you know, whenever there is...
meetha ho gaya, isiliye.
So sugar, you have to end the discussion on a sweet note, of course. But then, you know, sugar apparently has been one sector which has adhered classically to all technical patterns we've observed over years. So whether it's a bullish or a bearish pattern, and Praj Industries is one of the best stock available in that space, which has done exceptionally well technically.
All right, so that is Praj, like Kunal was saying, end the show on a very sweeter note, but there is something more sweeter than that, and that is the top picks coming in from Mr. Jani, isn't it, for all of our viewers?
Sure. So I have selected about 5-6 names. Okay. So Maruti and Ultratech are the names that I like from the large cap, because those are very steady, like your Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. So good to have those in your portfolio. BSE is something that I've been liking. I think it has run up quite a lot. But even if you know, you see a little bit of cool off, it would be a good idea to buy into BSE. Paytm, from the platform companies that we have, I think has done pretty well. Possibility of inclusion in one of the indices, MSCI, and the core story looks quite interesting. So it would be good to go with that. And I think that's about it. I think these are the 4 or 5 names that I think are good at this point of time.
4 or 5 sweet gains names then. On that sweet note, you know, thank you so much, Hemang Jani as well as Kunal Bothra, for joining in with us and giving our viewers a very special gift this Dussehra as well. And thank you so much, viewers, for tuning in to ET Now. It's a goodbye from Cheryl, myself, as well as the team who put this show together.
And let's not forget, happy
Happy
Dussehra.
Dussehra to everyone.
नानी को लेके बैंक जाना है एड्रेस चेंज के लिए, संभाल लेना।